What's up, everyone? Paul here from the Hoops Crew to talk about Shaun Mannagh and what I believe is an impending return to the AFL team. Shaun Mannagh is obviously, as many people know, one of our recruits in the off-season. Coming from the VFL, he was a mature age draftee for us and had been doing some amazing things, highlighted by a spectacular finals performance late last year. We brought him on. There were big raps. And he got a couple of early games for the Cats, playing round 1 and 2. And I'll bring up those numbers now. And I want to then kind of gradually build this narrative towards a point where I'm suggesting he belongs back in the seniors. So let's go back to round 1 and round 2, where he played against both the St Kilda Football Club and the Adelaide Crows. And look, considering the raps that were on him, you look at these numbers, especially when you just look at a pure statistical measure, and none of the 1%ers, the off-field stuff, the stuff that's immeasurable. You look at this and you go, okay, you need some time. And I think most people would agree that 18 disposals across 2 games, 1 goal when you're kind of drafted as a small forward who can kind of buzz around the contest and, get his own ball and win the contest. Yeah, you go, okay, that's a starting point. You might be up to it, but you need more time. And so, and as I scan through all the stats here, like it's all good. Oh, sorry, hit-outs were the only thing that was missing. Clearly not one for hit-outs. He didn't light it up in his first couple of games and was understandably brought back to the seconds. So I want to now cast an eye to his output in the seconds and what that could represent for him and us going forward. Because there were all these incredible raps on what he could do in front of the sticks and how he could hit the scoreboard regularly and be really, really impactful upon a game. And so as I jump across here, and I'm hoping that this zooms to a level that's legible for everyone, I'm trying to check on my screen here. We've got Shaun Mannagh's entire VFL career output up to this point. Of course, beginning in round 2, 2021, at Werribee, all the way through to present day, where he's now a Geelong player. And what I'll stress straight away is let's please ignore the position listing here. We're just throwing magnets on the board and the screen. He's listed as a fullback. No. He's listed on the bench. No. He's listed on the half-back flank. No. So let's please begin by ignoring those positional things and let's focus on the numbers that we're seeing here. And specifically, we are, of course, focusing on what we're seeing here as a Geelong player, season 2024. And it's pretty good reading. Like, let's really pull this apart. Now, again, let's not forget what he was brought in for in the first place. You can actually see, and it's kind of highlighted by the fantasy numbers specifically, you can kind of see that there's overall much larger numbers here when he was playing for Werribee. And the difference is he was playing a bit more, there was a bit more midfield. He had a bit more license to go up the ground as one of the absolute best players that were there. He'd kind of get it done in the middle, go forward and dominate teams as well. And so those numbers would be huge. They were quite heavily inflated by immense numbers of disposals, 25, 28, but 25 and 7 in that particular game against Sandringham. The grand final of last year, 27 and 6 goals too. This is what we picked him up for, but the way that we're using him is a little bit different this year. And so you'll notice, and it was the same for his AFL numbers where the disposal count was down. Now, it was, I think, like the first game, whatever, it's growing pains, you're learning. 13 disposals is probably closer to more what I think we should expect from Shaun Mannagh going forward. But we look at what he's achieving here in the Geelong VFL role, now playing the role that Geelong wants him to, which is a bit more based in that forward 50 and a little less license to creep up the ground, seemingly, as an outside observer, of course. He's still getting teens to 20s, closer to what we saw in that Adelaide game, but the goal output is there. So he's found his touch. He's kicked, and I went and double-checked it before, I believe, and I'll double-check as we go here, some quick maths, but I believe he's kicked 21 goals across the 8 games he's played in the VFL so far this season. 3, 2 is 5, 9, 12, 15, 17, 20, 23 goals. 23 goals across 8 games so far. So he's averaging nearly 3 goals a game. He's had, obviously, one game against the Lions there where he got a lot of the ball but didn't hit the sticks. He's also been deadly accurate. 3 goals to 0-1 is the only game where he didn't kick a goal for starters, but also he was on the wrong side of the ledger there. 0 goals, 1. It's 2-1, 4-1, 3-1, 3-1, 2-1, 6-1. He's been so potent. And that's good for us. And, the murmurings have kind of picked up. And of course, we've seen it kind of on social media and those sort of things in the last few days that, okay, you should get a game, but players need to earn it. And I think if we look at what Shaun Mannagh has been doing, he absolutely earns it, right? He's making a very strong argument, and we're looking for opportunities to hit the scoreboard at the moment. I just don't see why he's not right up there in the conversation at the moment. And obviously he's there or thereabouts anyway. He got that debut, those first couple games early in the season, and then kind of missed out from that point onwards. But I think he's put up a great argument across his recent games in the seconds to say, okay, bring me back. And he's learned, I think, a little bit about the speed of the AFL level. Obviously, he was an absolute pro in the VFL, but there is a jump in speed and quality when it comes to making that next step to the AFL level. And he's now had a couple of games to learn what that's about and go and apply his craft at training and in those seconds games across the weekend. And I think he's ready to go. The numbers all add up. The eye test, speaking to a few people who've been checking out the games recently, like the eye test has been really, really positive as well. I think he's worth giving another crack again. Now, the trick for Shaun Mannagh, and the thing that I guess I really want to stress, and I discussed this in one of my scratching post videos, which you can check out exclusively on our Patreon for those who subscribe. I spoke the other day about Tyson Stengel re-signing and what that would mean for the Cats forward line going forward. And it's an amazing thing. I mean, you think about that forward line going forward from here, and you go, okay, key forward. And I'm casting an eye to post Tom Hawkins, unfortunately. Whether that's the end of this year or next, I'm not sure. But to that particular point, we go, okay, we've got Jeremy Cameron as the number one key forward and Shannon Neal coming through. You go, okay, the two key posts, pretty locked down, let alone anyone else who kind of bobs up. Gary Rowan's still there. Ollie Henry is still there. That's 4. Now we start, and maybe those two get rotated and used in different ways when they're playing together, simply because they're similar. And we become quite tall in the forward line there. Obviously, Gary brings a lot of speed. Ollie brings a lot of other qualities as well. There's the class, there's the marking ability, the kind of more miraculous marking ability, and I think he finds the ball a lot more than Gary as well. But then you think about the smalls, and you go, okay, keep in mind we're at 4 out of 6 so far, of the starting 6, I should say. You go, okay, now from here we've got to fit in Tyson Stengel, all Australian, and just re-signed for another 4 or 5 years. We've got Brian Myers and everything he can do, goal assists, just sheer quality in that forward 50. You had Brad Close in there as well. We're at 7, and we're not even factoring the youth that's coming through, like an Ollie Dempsey, who could play multiple roles, but Ollie Dempsey's got to roll through. We've got other players who are going to go forward from time to time in different capacities. There's a whole bunch of young players coming through, and Shaun Mannagh is one of them. And you go, okay, how does he get a game from here? And it's a really tricky one. And I think because I'm sure the club is working with him to kind of round out his skill set. They want to make him, maybe it feels like, and again, this is the eye test, it feels like we're trying to make him more forward 50 based and a little less about running up the ground and accumulating possessions, as we can kind of see here with games through 2023 where he got 40 disposals in the game, 31, much more mid-20s or higher, and a little less teens to low 20s like what we're getting now. I think that that's a byproduct of him being based more in the forward 50 and being more damaging in that particular realm. And he's got the class, he's got the quality, he's got the skill set to do it. But then what does that mean? What does that mean for him getting a game? Well, I think we really have to look at how we're applying these puzzle pieces around him, the chips that we've got, all those players that I mentioned before, of 7 or 8 of them, with or without him. That's a real challenge for the club to try and manage at this particular point. And how do you find a game for him, because he deserves it, and have him come in and complement what you're doing with everyone else? What do you do to their roles to facilitate a Shaun Mannagh coming in? It's going to be a real challenge for the club. But I think what is abundantly clear for people is that Shaun Mannagh is absolutely a perfect fit for the Cats. He's going to be a huge asset going forward. And I think we just need to work out, how do we get him in? That's the real challenge at this particular point. My hope is that it's really soon, because he's kicking the door down. He's doing great things. His numbers are awesome and absolutely deserves a game. So hopefully he can be rewarded for that. Cats fans, what do you think? Let me know in the comments. Let us know on social media. Hit us up on the Hoops Crew. Find me at Paul James Games. I mentioned before the Patreon. Go check out the Patreon where you can hear me talk about Tyson Stengel's contract re-signing in the scratching post. The cost of one coffee for the entire month is all it takes to get on board with the Patreon. So consider checking that one out as well. But otherwise, remain Geelong strong, and I'll see you later.